Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato, coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJ TV studio in Brick City, beautiful Newark, New Jersey. We're pleased to welcome Analilia Mejia, who is Executive Director, New Jersey Working Families Alliance. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. 30-second description or less on your organization.
A progressive political organization that pushes voters to vote their values.
P.S. In the 2016 presidential campaign, your organization supported...
Bernie, although...
He goes by one name, doesn't he?
Yes, pretty much. Everyone knows which.
Not Hillary, but Bernie.
Yes, Bernie.
And definitely not Trump?
Oh, yes, definitely not Trump.
Because then, and why not now?
I think that he was selling the U.S., a terrible bag of goods. It was mostly, he was connecting with voters in terms of their angst and what issues.
A lot of working class voters, too, people who you represent.
He knew how to talk to Americans about the issues that were impacting their daily lives, but, it was what he was saying and what he's actually doing and his own personal history, it didn't connect.
Well, let's talk about that, because, there's a whole bunch of state issues. The $15 minimum wage you're involved in, paid sick leave, a whole range of issues, equal pay for equal work in Jersey. On the national level, as we do this program, we always put what date it is. We're in the spring of 2018. Yes. Assess the Trump presidency as it relates to the people you represent every day.
Well, when you look at what he's doing to the environment, when you look at what he's doing to workers on stealing tipped wages, for example, or tips from tipped workers, when you look...
What do you mean that, stealing tips?
So the administration has pushed essentially a bill that would allow employers to take tips away from tipped employees. And so, as we know, that's the way that most waitresses and a whole host of other industries essentially get to a minimum wage. Tipped workers make about $2 and some change, and they have to make up the difference per hour. They have to make up the difference by the tips. Well, if an employer is dipping into that pool, then employees are taking home less money. And so, in so many issues when it comes to worker protections, the environment, healthcare, even, this budget deal, yes, in the front end, it's giving some tax breaks.
You're talking about the tax deal?
Yes.
Well, doesn't it help middle-income people in terms of reducing their tax rates?
So in the beginning of this entire package, in the first couple years, most people will get a tax break, but then that gets phased out. The corporate tax breaks are permanent. So you and I will say bye-bye to our tax breaks, and the massive giveaways that were given to the wealthier corporations stay, and the hole that it creates is permanent as well.
Let's bring it back to Jersey. $15 an hour minimum wage has been talked about for a long time. We've done many programs here on State of Affairs on this topic. Where are we today, and what are the odds it's going to actually happen? A mandatory $15 minimum wage for all workers.
So, I'm a hopeful yet pragmatic person. I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to bring workers to a $15 minimum wage in New Jersey over the course of several years.
How many?
Our organization convenes a coalition that has been advocating for over the course of 5 years.
5 years. From where we are right now?
From where we are right now.
What, 8?
So now we're at 868,
yes,
I believe.
870, I thought. Okay.
So the idea is over the course of 5 years, you would be able to, as an employer, be able to make whatever adjustments so that you
Would that also potentially include a small business employer, many of whom we had on here, we'll have many we're taping today, who say, great idea, can't afford it. We're going to have to let some people go, have to raise some prices. You prepared for that? So
when you look at where this is passed, you see that perhaps in the beginning, in what states or regions, CTAC, for example, Seattle, Tacoma, what regions have adopted this, what you see is that people spend the money, right? Most low-wage workers, middle-class or working-class people, they live check to check. So that extra $20, $30, they're spending it in their communities, buying clothes or food or new shoes for their children, maybe going out to eat, a splurge that they couldn't afford before, and that actually drives demand.
Before we move to the whole question of paid sick leave, one more question on this. To what degree are you sensitive and empathetic to small business owners who say, I'd love to do it, can't do it?
Absolutely.
What do you say to them, though, seriously?
So So I run an organization. I have staff.
You have a budget. We have a budget.
I have
We
a
gotta
budget. I have a budget.
Pay health care for people,
Yes.
pension. You got the whole
Yes,
bit.
and I pay a minimum wage.
You're running
of
a
at least
business that's a
15.
nonprofit.
Exactly.
Just like public
exactly.
broadcasting.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So I understand the constraints. What I will say is that if you look at how this has worked out, the reality is that we're a consumer-driven economy. And in order for consumers to consume, they need to have some money. And raising the minimum wage would allow people to go beyond the $18,000 a year minimum wage workers make.
What is paid sick leave?
So right now, 1.2 million New Jerseyans do not have access to earned sick days. They can't earn a day to take off to care for themselves or a family member without all of a sudden losing that full day's pay and not being able to
And
make
you
ends
propose?
meet.
Your organization proposes?
Our organization is supportive of Senator Weinberg and Pam Lampett, Assemblywoman Pam Lampett's bill that would allow workers to earn 1 hour of earned sick time for every 30 hours worked. So you have to put in the time to earn some sick time. It would be capped at 40 hours or 72 hours for workers, depending on the size of the business. And then you could take the time once you've earned it. So after a course of several weeks, for example, part-time workers over, I think, 12 weeks would be able to have a day to care for themselves or their family.
By the way, we're monitoring this issue and state of affairs, as well as our great colleagues here at NJTV News. We'll give you a day-to-day report on where that is, because I'm sure there are going to be legislative hearings, votes on it, et cetera.
Yes.
Question on the Me Too movement. Where is it in connection with your organization, and why does it matter so much?
So, I mean, so many women have at one point or another experienced something unpleasant either at work or in their communities. I think, anything that pushes justice, equity, and respect is important. I think that, I have my own personal stories about Me Too. All I could say is that we don't want to raise. You have a daughter.
Sure do.
I have sons. We don't want to raise our children in an environment where any person, just by what they were born, what community they were born into, or what gender they were born into, that they should be treated with less than full respect.
Do we have
and
an
dignity.
opportunity now to do something we've never done before? Have an impact we've never had before?
I think every day we do.
And more now than ever.
I mean, I want to say yes because it's you, but I have to tell you, I feel like...
Don't forget about me. I want to know, do you really believe that right now there is a moment that...
I think every day we have a moment to completely change the culture, the tone and tenor of our communities, of our environment, right? I think if we only wait for massive movements to make real change, we miss an opportunity. You can impact the way...
Go ahead.
Sorry, we could impact our state every single day by how we interact with people, in our workplaces, or what we allow.
Policies
and what we
alone
don't allow.
won't do it, but they are needed.
I think that, we have to urge our legislators to think bigger and bolder and be responsible for their constituents.
You add something to the discussion every time you're here. We thank you so much.
Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank
Stay
you.
right there. State of Affairs from the NJTV studio here, right in Newark, New Jersey. We'll be right back right after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, Suez, Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, and by Choose New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ Advance Media, and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.